In the last episode, we finally gathered enough materials to build our giant factory, our grand main building for this series, where most of our machines will be housed. And in today's episode, we are going to be entering the steam age by beginning our power plant, which is going to sit right inside this large portion of the factory. And I am super excited to begin today's episode, but before we can get into things, I need to introduce you to some new mods that have made their way into Unlimited 2.0. And one of the changes to the mod pack is pretty evident. If you look down at my hotbar there, you see this little icon. And that icon may be familiar if you know about the Cold Sweat mod. This is a new mod that adds a temperature system into the game, and that's unfortunate for us because it's the middle of winter. And you can see as I step outside, my icon is getting some icicles on it. It's becoming chillier. I am getting colder. And in the summer, we'll have to worry about overheating when we're outside as well, so we'll have to find ways to stay cool. And the best way to keep one step ahead of the temperature is by using a thermometer, which I can craft with some gold and some redstone, just like this. And this is something I'm gonna need to keep on my hotbar pretty much at all times, because it's gonna show me the exact temperature that it is wherever I'm standing at that exact moment. So right here, standing next to this boiler, which is also something that Cold Sweat adds into the game, you can see that it's about 77 degrees, so I am very comfortable. And as you can see, as I step away from that boiler, we are going to get a little bit colder. 68 degrees is about where it becomes blue, which means when it's blue at the bottom of the screen, I can now become too cold. If I was to stand out here for an entire day, I may start getting hypothermia, which is going to start damaging me and eventually will kill me. Now, fortunately, the mod is not too hardcore, so I don't actually have to worry about constantly keeping myself warm when I'm out here during the day, but at night it can get pretty cold and you can't sleep when it's too cold out. So we're gonna have to worry about making sure each of these buildings is insulated and has a good way to maintain its internal temperature. But that's not something we're gonna focus on right now. Right now, we are going to focus on getting our steam engine up and running. So a steam engine is a very valuable resource. We are pretty much going to be using steam power from here on out, unless it's some small build that we only need like a water wheel or a windmill for. But as you can see through this diagram, multiple steam engines can be powered from one boiler, and we're gonna go through this whole process today, but eventually our entire factory is going to be full to the brim with max power steam engines producing at high rates. So how we're gonna get started today is by taking a bunch of copper sheets, which I just happen to have some right here, and we're gonna take a bunch of these barrels. Oh, and that's a perfect amount. How serendipitous is that? Fluid tanks are going to be the core of our machine. And one thing I really should do now that we have a temperature mod is get a bridge built between this site and the other site, because I'm gonna jump into this water every single time. I'm gonna get really, really cold, and that's gonna be pretty detrimental for us. That's not gonna be great. You can see there, I already have a 1 ticking at the bottom, which means I am 1% cold. And if it gets to 100, I will begin taking damage. I'm gonna go ahead and get some more copper sheets cooking up in our press right here, which I don't think I ever changed this from last episode, so that's fine. It's still running pretty slowly. And so while those sheets cook up, I'm gonna go ahead and begin in here our grand atrium, which is going to be housing all of our boilers and steam engines. But for right now, we don't need to have anything too big. We're just gonna start with a very simple tank. So the next thing I'm going to need is an actual steam engine, which 1 copper block is going to be what I need, as well as a sheet like that. And I think 1 andesite alloy gives me a steam engine. So effectively, if I pop this on anywhere, which for our purposes, I'm gonna pop it right here on the side, you can see that our tank is now converted into a boiler. And with my goggles, I can see the boiler status. Right now, it is idle. It is receiving no heat, it has no water in it, and it has no output, meaning it is making 0 stress units for 1 engine, which is this engine right here. Now, in order to actually see the steam engine, I'm going to need to put a little shaft right here, and you can see that once I do that, the arm automatically connects to the shaft, and that is where we will get our rotational power from. So the last thing we need to get this steam engine up and running is pretty much heat and water. And for heat, I'm just gonna put a campfire up under here for now. Eventually we'll upgrade that into a blaze burner, but we'll need a much more renewable source of blazes before we can do that. And then what I'll need is to use some fluid pipes, which I can just connect them like so. And I actually don't wanna connect it like that. I wanna probably just have it connect 1 time and then connect to the floor right here. And then in order to get water, all you're going to need is a mechanical pump, which is 1 fluid pipe and 1 cogwheel. And this mechanical pump is going to provide us water into this pipe network and into the boiler from just a water source underneath it. Now, as it begins pumping, it will consume that water source, so technically you need an infinite water source underneath it. But as I said in the first episode of this series, I really don't want to cheese everything, and my eyes are invisible. I'm just now noticing that. Where are my eyeballs? I seem to have... Oh, there they are. Found them. Got him back. But like I said in the very first episode of this show, I really don't want to be relying on infinite water sources, at least not aesthetically. Because in order to automate things to the fullest extent, I will need to employ some cheese tactics. But I've given myself the rule that every time I use a cheese tactic like an infinite water source, I have to do my best to disguise it as a realistic or at least semi-realistic means of getting that resource. So I think the best way to do that is by developing some kind of pump house outside that is funneling water into a basement area, and there's monsters outside wanting to eat me. So what I think I'm gonna do is go ahead and lay that pipework outside to the river there, and I'm also going to go ahead and excavate underneath the factory so we have our basement area, and I'm gonna do that in a quick little montage. Alright, so I finished digging out the crawl space, but after I finished, I realized I should probably go ahead and prioritize bringing all of my stuff over from the other building into this one, since this is going to be pretty much where we're working mainly from now on. Like, obviously we'll still utilize those places, but this is pretty much going to be our base of operations for this entire series. And I've gone ahead and set up an entire wall of storage drawers. This is where we're going to store a majority of our items. I've also got some compacting drawers on the end here. This is going to be for, like, if I have iron, I can use iron blocks, iron nuggets, and iron ingots all in one block. All I gotta do is right click on it with the ingot, and you can see there I'm able to extract one block, and that pulled out 9 ingots basically. I can put that back in, it adds 3 more ingots, and it shows me exactly how many of each item I can extract. And just a short while later, you can see I've already started putting things in the drawers. Over here is kind of the create stuff and create centric items. Over here is everything else. It'll be a lot more organized eventually, but this is what I have for right now. And I've got these here in the compacting drawers. These are kind of the main items I think I'll need compacting for, except maybe that lapis. I don't know if that lapis is gonna remain there. So this is gonna help us keep our heads on straight with all of our bulkier items, and it's gonna make it a lot easier to find the things we're looking for when we're putting contraptions together. But that's enough talk about organization. I can organize on my own time. Today I want to go ahead and start working on that pump house. So I've gone ahead and pre-crafted up a bunch of these pipes and everything that we're going to need today, and we're going to get outside and dig ourselves a line that our pipes are going to run under the ground with, and we're going to get some water flowing into our factory. So this is the area that I've dug out under the main atrium. It's pretty big because I'm basically future-proofing it. We are going to be putting a lot of stuff down here, but for right now, we're going to run a pipe network. So this is all going to be temporary piping, but I do want to get the general infrastructure running pretty well. So what I'm going to do is run the pipe along the ceiling here so it's out of our way. And then right here, I'm going to bring it down to the floor because this is going to run outside to our pump room right out there. You can see I already put the water wheel in place and a little platform. And this pipe is going to be buried underground, but I'm still going to need to be able to power this with some extra pumps because one pump is not going to be enough to do this much distance. So I'm just going to keep running it, and right there I might need to go ahead and do some terraforming, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. What I'm going to do is bring this up here so it looks nice because I need it to come up a little higher, and I like the idea of the exposed pipe coming out of the building. I'm going to place a block here temporarily because I'm going to put my pump right here. So that is how we are going to pump our water. I've basically got a little infinite water source here, and I'm actually going to put stairs here. I don't know if I need to because this should work, but I think it'll actually refuel faster and allow me to get more water, and I think it'll create less lag if I put stairs, waterlogged stairs right here on either side. But the pump is going to basically keep pulling water out from here, send it all the way along there, but it's not going to be able to do it alone. I'm going to need to put another pump every about 30 blocks or so, I think is what I found out is the best way to do it. So maybe one right here, that's about 30 blocks away. Ooh, and I need to rotate that around so it's pulling in the correct direction. And then I'll place another one right here on this pipe, just like so. And that should get me through to the end of this network. I don't think I need another pump, but let me double check. Looks like I'm gonna need one more pump, so I will have to run another pump, probably right up there. That way this one can just be powered by some units up there. I don't actually have to worry about running any sort of cogs out here because this does need to be powered by cogs. So now I just need to run this shaft pretty much all the way down this way and then put another cog when it gets in contact with that other pump. Right here, one more cog, and then I just bring this all the way over to the pumping room. I made this platform out of wood, but I'm thinking I'm gonna make it out of andesite casings so I can run the shafts underneath the floor. So I'll have to go back for some of those. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get this building powered up. So I'll just place a cog wheel right there, and then I'll put a rotation speed controller just like usual. And I think we're gonna bring this up to 64 for now. I think 64 RPM is gonna be just fast enough. I'll go ahead and waterlog these stairs so we can make this thing have a bit of a smaller footprint, but that still should act as an infinite water source. But again, the idea is that we're getting it from the river out here, not from a small 3x1 little pool right here. So if I come here and I place a shaft just like that, this will run under the floorboards. We'll have andesite casings there. I think what I'm gonna do is run an encased chain drive. So one like that, one like that. Gearbox here. Another gearbox right here. That's gonna allow me to go straight and power up those pumps. Now they're not doing anything, they are spinning, but there's no water because this first one's not running. So those are running, that's going effectively. The shortest way of solving this would be to put another gear shaft here, like a vertical gearbox, and then put a cog right there to power that up. But that's gonna be in the way, but I guess I can redesign the way I'm thinking this building's gonna go. And so if all my calculations are correct, we should see water particles forming on the outside of these pipes all the way inside. Boop. I've overstressed the mechanism. This can be pretty easily solved with just one more water wheel, and it's not a big deal because eventually this whole place is gonna be powered by electricity. Boom, just like that, this entire system should now be running. And as you can see here, those particles that I was talking about are running all the way along here. And they're even running past this second pipe, and let's make sure it's going all the way to the end. It should run just short of this bend right here, and it looks like it is. It looks like it's stopping right about here. Just gotta tidy up a little bit here before we move on to our next activity. Make sure these pipes are not exposed to the elements. And I'll take some time to go ahead and build up the walls to this pump house. I'll also make myself a couple of copper casings here and a quick valve so I can cut off the water whenever I need. And now I should be able to make myself a cutoff valve that I can put right in here if I'm fast enough. Ah, just like that. If I'd waited any longer, it might have started overflowing out of the pipe network. I can just rotate. Oh no, I can't rotate that around. Ah, actually, that's exactly how I needed to be rotated. Because now I can slap this on, and if I set this to be 90 degrees, every time I rotate it, we should be able to cut the water off. And the water should now be off. It looks like that arrow, I can't really see it that well, but it looks like that arrow is pointing in the opposite direction. So if I break this open now, we should have no water flow. So now I'm free to go ahead and adjust this pipe as I want to, which I kind of want to bring it out just a little bit more. I think that's exactly how I want this to be running. And I believe I can put a casing right here, and that will disguise that. And I can bring the dirt up right around here, kind of brush up against the building. And I think that will do nicely. I'll know more. I'll be able to tweak it a little bit along the way, but I think that's how I like that to be. And by putting the door on there, I think that is a good pump house. This is going to be very nice. We can decorate this up a little bit more. And in fact, I need to put a roof on it. So this feels like a good time for a montage. I'll go ahead and say it's not the greatest building we've ever made in this series, but you know what? That's really not what it's supposed to be for. It's just a practical building that's supposed to house a pump. If you're looking at it, you're looking at the wrong thing, but on the inside, it does look pretty nice, and this would be a great place to come in and shut on and shut off the valve here. I'll grab my backpack and we'll go ahead and get out of here because our next task is to get the boiler up and running. So I'm gonna bring this campfire that I've been using to warm myself outside, take it in, put it under the boiler, and after a moment, we should be able to get this thing up and running. I know I said I wasn't gonna do it, but I think I've changed my mind and I am gonna run this last pump off of our house out there. My main concern was overstressing it, but since we added that second water wheel on, I think it'll be fine. All of this is temporary, none of this is permanent. This is all not gonna be here eventually. And so with this last gearbox, boom, right there, that should get everything turning. Let me run upstairs, because all I did was dig through the floor. Let me actually properly walk up the, well, staircase, not really, not finished. Nothing in this building is finished. But we should be able to see, yes, for the first time, you can see some green lines there next to the water. So this will now tell us exactly what we need to improve our boiler. So what we have is good water, because that's green, but we don't have enough heat, nor is this big enough to house as much water as we have. But that's fine. We actually have more water than we need. So if I put this up underneath this boiler, this should start running. But it didn't. I think I am gonna need a blaze burner for this demonstration, so I'm gonna grab the one we have, and I think in the next episode we're gonna make a trip back to the Nether and see if we can't pick up a blaze spawner, which I think with the carry-on mod I can bring back into the overworld with no problem at all. So I'm gonna remove this campfire, I'm gonna put this blaze burner up under here, I'm gonna put this fluid tank back on, and in fact I think I'm going to put another one up there as well. So that actually, hey, that's enough to get going. I don't even have to power the blaze burner with anything because it's in its passive state, but that's enough heat and enough size to get this going. So you can see right there, the kinetic stress capacity of this one boiler has 2,048 SU, all coming out of this one engine. We officially have a passive engine. But I believe if I give this some fuel, like this charcoal for instance, we immediately move up to a level 1 boiler, and you can see there that when a boiler is actually powered, you get way more kinetic stress. 16,348 to be exact, and you can see you get a lot more rotational energy out of it as well. But of course, you need to actually power the blaze burner, and that charcoal was only good to do it for 58 seconds. And that's where a mechanical arm can come into play, and I need to make one, but unfortunately, to make a mechanical arm, I am gonna need another one of those dastardly precision mechanisms, which, as we know, is pretty hard to make. We need a really neat machine in order to do that. All right, so I took some time off camera to go ahead and prepare for this build, and you'll see that I've already run our power supply up under the floor here, so it's just one kind of string of shafts that loops all the way around, but we can make multiple little machines in between these pillars here. And for our precision mechanism machine, I think this will be the best spot to build it. We need a 5x2 space, so I think this will be a nice snug fit for it. And today's design for this machine comes to us from Triobian. I've got a link in the description that will show you that tutorial, but we are going to go ahead and jump into this, and I believe I will need a barrel right here. And then I will need some shafts, one running just like this, and then one over here. Run a mechanical belt in between those two, and that's gonna be our main assembly line. Put a hopper on top right there. That is where we are going to load our gold plates in. I'm gonna go ahead and put one encased chain drive here, which is gonna power a line of deployers, just like so. And then what I need to do is put this is a new item for this series. This is an item vault, and I think I need to run it right back here, all along the back side, just like that. I think I don't need this one. That one needs to come off. And this is where the fun part begins. So because a precision mechanism needs to loop through 5 times, we need a system to allow for those incomplete precision mechanisms to come back to the beginning and spit back out. So they'll spit back out of this andesite funnel. They will go into this brass funnel, which will have a filter. We don't have it yet, but it's gonna have an incomplete mechanism on it. So once the first one comes through, we will put that as a filter, and then that should begin the process. We're gonna need some chutes up here that are attached to a set of barrels. This is where we're gonna load our supply in. And I'm realizing I need to actually sink this into the floor one, but I really don't want it to be in the floor. I want to keep that andesite ceiling on the underside, so maybe there's another way I can make this work. For the sake of getting this done in a timely fashion, I'll go ahead and put this in the floor, but there might be a more superior method for me doing that. And for all intents and purposes, that is pretty much the entire machine ready to go. So all I gotta do is come behind here, make sure it's powered up properly. One encased chain drive right here should do the trick. And now the machine has life, and of course this is a pretty slow machine right now. We could always speed it up eventually, but right now that's because the entire machine is slow. Once we get that RPM up, this will automatically go up. So I don't think I want to speed it up too much. I'd rather keep this at a pretty moderate pace. So now all I need to do is load up my ingredients. So that should be a regular cog, a large cog, and then an iron nugget on the end here. And now I should just need to put large cogwheel in, or regular cogwheel for that matter, and then large cogwheel, and then iron nugget. And those are all ready to go. And once I add a golden sheet, which right now I'm just gonna add one, it's going to begin the process. Let me make sure these are facing the right direction. They are. And where has it gone? Ah, they aren't facing the right direction. They're facing the wrong direction. That needs to be spitting out. That is good. And then right here, once that places, yep, it pulled it right in. Oh, hold on. I need to put that right there. And now I can put this here. And after 5 cycles, so that should only pull up the incomplete one, spits it back out. Once this is finished, it should send it straight into that chute. And just like that, it did. The moment it was done and had a fully done precision mechanism, it sent it into the chute. And so now what I can do is put all these gold sheets in. And in a series, and it's gonna slow down after a moment because it's gotta loop through all the ones that are in their cycle. Each one is gonna be one step ahead of the last one. But this will continue to automate these as long as I keep filling it with the proper ingredients and the proper input. So we never have to worry about precision mechanisms again. This is one of the hardest things in Create to make, and I think we have already fully automated it. Of course, this will speed up. In fact, I can go ahead and speed it up if I just feed our blaze burner some charcoal. So if I give him enough fuel, hopefully we can catch this before it's done. I don't know how much faster it's gonna be spinning, how quickly it'll get done, but I can see it's already going faster in the distance there. Yep. So with a fully powered machine, we have it going very fast. So how many have we already made? Have we made any yet? We haven't made any quite yet, but once we do, it should start coming in one after the next. Oh, and there we go. So they're continuing to be built. I am running out of ingredients a little faster than I'm able to make these. These are going very fast. And I have no idea. It looks like there's 24 incomplete ones. So I may have overloaded this. But again, I don't think we'll need as many as we're making. 10 precision mechanisms is good to get us through at least a couple episodes. But it's a fantastic machine. Again, thank you, Triobian, for the design. This is a very compact and very nice looking in our space build. And I'm very happy to have it here. And that's what each of these sections is actually going to be, is one of these smaller, compact, more manual machines. I've decided that that's what this floor is going to be dedicated to. Like maybe this one makes those electron tubes that we need for some of our brass funnels and brass tunnels. And something like this one could help us automate train tracks, which I think we're going to go ahead and attempt to do. Because I think next episode we're going to focus on automating our iron, but in order to automate our iron, we are going to need trains. And we can't have trains without a decent supply of train tracks on hand. And train tracks, as far as I know, are not that hard to make. We are going to be working off of a narrow gauge set of tracks, and all we'll need is kind of a set of 1, 2, 3, just like with the precision mechanism. We're going to need to cut a dark oak slab in this case, and then we're going to need to apply either a zinc or iron nugget onto it, and then we're going to need to press it into place. And that will give us one narrow gauge track. But before we can get into any machines, I just realized I don't have any dark oak. And dark oak is going to be very vital to the aesthetic of the railroad. I know I want to use dark oak, but I've not come across any in my travels. So what I think I'm going to do really quick is make a nature's compass, and a nature's compass is going to be able to point us in the direction of a dark forest biome. And to make a nature's compass, it's a very simple recipe. All we need is 4 saplings, 4 stripped logs, and 1 compass, and that will give us the nature's compass. And I've never actually worked with this too much, but I think we should just be able to select the biome we want, like a dark forest biome. Start search, and there it is at the very top corner of the screen. We can see the coordinates of exactly where it is, and it's not too far. So I'm gonna get on a bit of an exploration after I get around these mobs here that have made their home in my factory, and I will see you guys on that journey. And I think I see our dark forest up ahead. That's a mushroom, which usually means that there's a dark forest biome just up ahead. I can see the thicker, darker trees. All right, so I've gathered up 9 dark oak saplings, which is enough to make 2 trees, which I think will be enough to get us started on our journey. So I'm gonna get back to the factory, I'm gonna plant these trees, and then I'll catch up with you guys to assemble our last machine of the day. On my way back, I managed to find a pig, which is something I've really wanted. So until I get a barn built, I'm gonna store these piggies inside the church here. I think that is a perfect home for them for the time being. Okay, you guys go in there. Let me go get your friends. All right, there you go. You guys stay warm in there. I'll be back for you eventually. So I think we're gonna put this machine right here, and instead of having it come out of the ground with a vertical gearbox, I've opted for an encased chain drive. Based on the rotation, it looks like the assembly line's gonna have to run this way, and I don't really care which direction it goes, so that'll work just fine. One mechanical belt ought to do it, and I don't know how long it needs to be yet. And this one's actually something I don't know. Can I mechanical press on a conveyor belt? That is something that I need an answer to. Let's test it out with a piece of andesite real quick. And it looks like I absolutely can, so that'll make it a lot easier for me. Now, this mechanical saw is going to be important about its rotation. In fact, I might need to do something a bit more sophisticated with the rotation. In fact, let me bring this whole chain drive back one. Get it nice and snug up against the wall right there. And then if I put another chain drive here and here, that's still running the wrong direction, which means I'm probably going to need a cog there instead. So 1 cog, 2 cog, and that gets that rotating. I believe that's the correct direction. Again, it's gonna take some experimenting. So if I run this here, is that going to chop it into train tracks? Yes, it does. So then I need right here a deployer, which is pointing down, and then a mechanical press, which is also pointing down. I'm gonna need to steal some iron nuggets from this to make some more encased chain drives. Run 2 encased chain drives right here. Run another encased chain drive like so. And that should be good for power. Now, obviously, speed isn't up to snuff, but we can always fix that later. So now if I give this some iron nuggets, and then I place down our incomplete piece of track, it's gonna place an iron nugget on it, and then it will stamp it into place. And just like that, we have created our very first piece of narrow gauge track. And that is a brilliant model. I love these train tracks. The narrow gauge is probably the best one just because it's a little bit more compact than your standard or your wide gauge. But this machine could definitely be prettied up and refined a bit more, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and take some time to do that. Perhaps something like this will be more resource useful. Like if I run this up to 96 and then I actually change its direction, now that will get it running in the proper direction. Then all I need is an encased chain drive there. Or actually rather a cog, because again, we need that inverted oh! Well, I've died. This place is definitely not OSHA approved. That should definitely have some guardrails on it or something, so I can't stand on it. That's gonna cause some problems right there. Unless I grab this gear right here, and then I put the cog down in the correct orientation, and then I put down the shaft, and then I encase the cog, and then I should be able to put this here. And that should be good, and in fact, over on this side, we don't even really need this system right here. We just need an output with a funnel. So something like that should do the trick, but I guess there's only one way to find out, and that's by putting some in here. Apply. And it's running through, and it's not stopping to make... What's happening? What's going on? Well, that might have something to do with it. All right, now with that powered up, I should be able to put all of these in here, and they should be outputting normal track now. They are, but I'm gonna have to load all of these in one at a time because these incomplete track sets do not stack. But that is a fully functioning system that is currently spitting the output onto the floor, but that's no big deal because this isn't really something we're gonna have running too passively in the background. That is a powerful machine to have on hand. Right now, I have made 61 narrow gauge tracks. And the best thing about tracks is that when you click on one, you can actually create some very nice bends and curves. Like if I run here, you don't have to follow that Minecraft grid, which is going to be very helpful for what we want to do. But all of that is going to have to wait till next episode because we have already done so much in today's episode. So thank you so much for watching. And hey, while you're here, if you want to go ahead and leave a comment down below to help me name this factory, I think a building as grand as this needs a name from the audience. So go ahead and leave a comment down below and I will pick a name for this factory in the next episode. But once again, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like button and also subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.